Hello there, this is Elliot Hall, and this is my university project, a representation of the solar system, a very small solar system, with just a sun, an earth, and a moon. And as you can see, here they are right now, with the earth going around and the moon orbiting that earth. And I will just take you through some of the things that we can do. So we can pause and start the animation with the space button. We can speed up and slow down the animation. We can, if I just speed it up again, move backwards and forwards, and also turn the camera left and right. We can use the right mouse button to also do things that will edit the animation, such as pausing and playing. And we can also rotate the camera view along different axes. One of the first things I did was to make sure to have a black canvas. Obviously I wanted to represent space, and then I started to work on building the planet starting with the sun. After creating the three spheres, that would be the sun, earth and moon, I would need to create a light. And as you can see from the picture on the screen, there's three different types of light: directional lights, point lights, and spotlights. Directional lights go in one direction, spotlights kind of focus on one direction. The one that I would want to use is a point light, because it spreads from a certain point, and the light illuminates out from that point, which is kind of what I want my sun to do. Now, in order to create light, we want to follow the light model as shown on the screen. We want to combine a few different elements together to create something that looks more realistic instead of the dull, lifeless 2D objects that you would normally be viewing on a screen. So we want to make ambient light, diffuse light, and specular light. So let's start with ambient light. Ambient light is light that comes equally from everywhere, and as you can see from the formula on the screen, the pixel color equals the surface color combined with the intensity of the ambient light. Diffuse light is where the intensity of the light depends on the angle in which you're viewing it. So if you're looking directly at the light, then you should get the maximum illumination, whereas if you're facing away, there shouldn't be any illumination. And of course, if you're looking somewhere in between that, then depending on the angle that you're looking at, the light source depends on how much illumination there is. Specular light causes a bright spot to appear on the surface of the object, depending upon the viewer's position and the angle that you're looking at the object. Almost like a shiny spot. Okay, so in order to turn the lighting into a reality, we have to do it through code. So to start with, I'll set up a light source called light 0 and turn the lighting on using geoenable. And then I'm going to set up the property vectors that I'm going to use for the light source. So I create free floats that I use for the ambient, diffuse, and specular lights, and then I set those values to what OpenGL will use for that light source, light 0, for the ambient, diffuse, and specular lights. Next, I set some universal material property vectors. So these are the vectors that I set mainly to represent colors that I wanted for the different spheres. So obviously the sun would be more like a yellow-orange, the planet would be more of a blue, and the moon would be more of a white. Finally, taking the Earth as an example, I set each of the different ambient, diffuse, specular values and assign them the material color. So ambient, diffuse being blue because the Earth, and then the specular being white because I wanted a shiny spot. Here are examples of what they all look like, completely separated. So first, if you look at the Earth, we have the ambient, and then we have the diffused, on its own. So this is of no ambient. And then finally, we have the specular, which you can't see the Earth. You can see the white spot. If we combine them all, we get something that looks more realistic and lifelike than flat representation. In order to get my project to animate, I started off with using the ball and torus as a template. It was provided by the university, and it's of a ball circling in and out of a torus. I used this code as a starting point to get my spheres to orbit the sun or the earth, depending on which one it is. Putting this into code, using the earth for example, when I created the draw scene for the earth, I made it so that its rotation followed a variable called lat angle. And when the project is animated, it's on a timer, and as the timer is going, each second increases the latitude angle, so the Earth is rotating more and more as it's getting redrawn on scene. Eventually, it moves, full circle, so to speak. So doing something similar with the moon, we have the moon orbiting the Earth as the Earth orbits the sun, and with all the light sources, it is looking a lot more realistic towards being a solar system. In conclusion, I feel like the way that my project animated and the realistic and simplistic look that it had were definitely some of its strengths. A big weakness I noticed was I tried to make the sun look like a realistic light source by making it have an emission. And unfortunately, I couldn't get it to work quite the way I wanted to. I wanted the sun to have more of a glow effect, so it looked more realistic. However, the more I turned up the emission, the more the color changed on my Earth and my Moon, so I had to keep it very low. And it wasn't quite as good as I was hoping.